This is Part 2, Episode 173. Have the Flower Sect and Burning Flame Valley agreed to the alliance? Xiao Yan listened to a report from the two elders in front of him within the main hall of the Falling Star Pavilion. He suddenly stood up. His face was filled with joy. Ha ha, the Flower Sect and the Burning Flame Valley have both given us a clear reply. They are waiting for the junior pavilion chief to decide when to announce this news. A Falling Star Pavilion elder smiled as he replied. Xiao Yan, Cai Lin, and the rest sighed in relief after hearing these words. Things were always difficult at the start. With this good beginning, it would be much easier to deal with the subsequent matters. The Flower Sect and the Burning Flame Valley possessed a strong reputation within the Central Plains. Their participation would undoubtedly increase the reputation of the alliance, far surpassing the reputation of the Profound River Alliance when it had been formed back then. The smooth progress of this alliance has somewhat exceeded my expectations. Yao Lao fondled his beard and laughed. After all, the Hall of Souls was not an ordinary faction. Opposing them would require a lot of courage. In that case, when will we meet the two sects to discuss the details of the alliance? Cai Lin asked. There is no need to hurry. Although the Flower Sect and the Burning Flame Valley have agreed to join, it is still not enough. If we wish to fight the Hall of Souls, we definitely need to rope the Pill Tower in. Otherwise, it will be quite difficult. Yao Lao slowly shook his head as he explained the situation. Xiao Yang slightly nodded. The joy in his heart was gradually diminished. He also understood that the most important of the three large factions was the Pill Tower. This faction possessed the ability to summon experts across the Central Plains. If they joined, the alliance's reputation would soar to an unbelievable high. At that time, they would not be inferior to the Hall of Souls even when it came to a head-on clash. However, Xiao Yang was aware that it would not be easy to get the Pill Tower to join the alliance. The Pill Tower had always maintained a neutral stance. It had never joined any camp ever since it had been founded. Even though these people hated the Hall of Souls to their very bones, the chances of success in convincing them to join the alliance were not very high. Shall we send a letter as a probe? The little fairy doctor suggested. Yao Lao shook his head. He said, this must not be done recklessly. If we wish to convince them to join the alliance, it is likely that I must personally visit the Pill Tower with Xiao Yan. The result of sending anyone else will definitely end the same. I? Xiao Yang nodded. The Pill Tower was not like the Flower Sect and the Burning Flame Valley. They needed to head over personally if they wished to form this alliance. So it's like this, it's just as well. I will take care of the Falling Star Pavilion. The matters over this period of time have mostly been settled. There will likely not be any more trouble. When are the both of you leaving? Cai Lin nodded and supported this approach. The final decision of the Pill Tower was a critical part of this alliance. They needed to treat it with great care. This matter cannot be delayed. We will leave today. Xiao Yang exchanged glances with Yao Lao and the both of them replied simultaneously. This matter had to be resolved as soon as possible. With the decision made, Xiao Yang and Yao Lao did not delay any longer. The both of them made some preparations before hurrying to the Pill region. Since the Falling Star Pavilion had just stabilized, only the two of them left on this trip. Cai Lin, the little fairy doctor, and the rest remained behind to guard the Falling Star Pavilion. Xiao Yang and Yao Lao could both be considered elite doshens. Their speed was naturally not something an ordinary expert could compare with. They tore through space and traveled to their destination. Under this frightening speed, they had reached the Holy Pill City in the Pill region in half a day. Xiao Yang felt somewhat emotional as he arrived on the outskirts of the Holy Pill City. This place was where he had truly become famous in the Central Plains. During the Pill Gathering, he had relied on himself to turn the tide around and defeat the expert from the Hall of Souls, preventing the champion spot of the Pill Gathering from landing in the hands of someone from the Hall of Souls. Putting it this way, the Pill Tower owed Xiao Yang a favor. After all, if the champion spot had been taken by the Hall of Souls, the reputation of the Pill Tower would have suffered a huge blow. Xiao Yan and Yao Lao did not stop because of the bustling streets after entering the Holy Pill City. Instead, they entered the Pill Tower. Xiao Yan and Yao Lao were seated in a large hall at the top level of the Pill Tower. An elder of the Pill Tower quickly withdrew and informed the three great heads of their arrival. These three fellows seemed to have formed great airs about them now. Yao Lao lifted the teacup beside him, took a sip, and laughed. Both he and Xiao Yang were fatigued after traveling here, but fortunately the both of them were extraordinary. Hence, they were able to endure this fatigue. Xiao Yang smiled. He knew that Yao Lao's relationship with the three heads was quite good, so he did not comment. The silence in the large hall continued for a moment before it was broken by the sound of hurried footsteps. The tightly shut door was pushed open and a loud laugh quickly followed. Ha ha, what a rare guest. Old Yao, it is unexpected that I am able to see you again. The tightly shut door had been opened. A white-robed Xian Kongzi laughed and quickly entered. Qian Leizi and Xian Yu quickly followed him in. Both of their eyes contained some excitement as they looked at Yao Lao in the large hall, who was holding a teacup. It has been a long time since we have last met. How are you? Yao Lao placed his teacup down. He looked at those three and greeted them with a grin. Xian Kongzi and the two behind him quickly walked through the large hall. They arrived in front of Yao Lao and looked at his familiar face. A moment later, Xian Kongzi softly sighed. He patted Yao Lao's shoulder as he said, "It is unexpected that I am still able to see you while we are still alive." The smile on Yao Lao's face became denser after seeing the way they acted. He patted Xian Kongzi's shoulder before his eyes landed on Xian Yi by the side. He laughed, "It has been so many years since we have met, but you are still as beautiful as ever. You don't appear like the few of us old fellows." Xian Yi's face reddened slightly upon hearing this compliment and both of her eyes filled with some moisture. Her little girl-like demeanor caused Xiao Yang to feel speechless. It seemed that this giant head of the Pill Tower really held some feelings for Yao Lao. Even he had managed to guess this with a glance. The four of them laughed and chatted for a while after they met. Xiao Yang was unable to interrupt. All he could do was helplessly stand by the side and accompany them. Ha ha, old Yao, you have really accepted a good disciple. He is young but he has already reached the Dosham class. Moreover, he also values relationships. If any accident were to befall you back then, the old me would really have wished to snatch him. The few of them finally saw Xiao Yang by the side after chatting for a while. Xian Kongzi immediately laughed. "Elder Xian Kongzi, please don't tease this young self." Xiao Yang involuntarily and bitterly laughed before giving a reply. I am unworthy of the term elder now. Those who are stronger are the masters. Regardless of whether it is in terms of training do-chi or alchemist skills, it is likely that I am unable to compare with you. Xian Kongzi smiled as he responded. He had just luckily advanced to the Banshan class a year ago, but he vaguely felt as though he was facing an endless sea in front of Xiao Yang. He could not even detect Xiao Yang's limit. "All right, you would not visit for no reason. Old Yao, your visit to my Pill Tower definitely involves some big matters, right?" Xian Kongzi laughed. He changed the conversation as he looked back at Yao Lao. "I?" The smile on Yao Lao's face diminished after hearing that they were about to discuss the important matters. He mused for a moment before explaining the matter of the alliance in detail. "Alliance, this matter is a little troublesome. It is not as if you are unaware of how stubborn those old fellows are." Xian Kongzi's group all frowned. Xian Kongzi replied after hearing Yao Lao explain the situation. "I am aware that it is troublesome, but I must give it a try. The Hall of Souls is too powerful. None of our party would be able to fight them alone. If we do not form an alliance, neither one of us will be able to escape the claws of the Hall of Souls. I have been captured by the Hall of Souls before. Hence, I have an idea why they are capturing souls, and it likely involves some brewing schemes," Yao Lao replied in a grave manner. Xian Kongzi slightly nodded. He knew that the Hall of Souls would not capture so many spiritual bodies for no reason, but this news alone was not enough to get those old fellows to break from the norm and join the alliance. This matter would be much easier if the ancestor was still around. Just one word from his elderly self would determine the final answer. Xian Yi frowned and replied. That old thing has disappeared again. Yao Lao asked in a startled voice. Xian Kongzi and the other two smiled bitterly and nodded together. Xian Kongzi replied, he has been missing for a long time. It has been many years since we had heard any word from him. If his spiritual jade token wasn't still perfectly fine, even we would have thought that he had met with some mishap. Ancestor? What is that? Xiao Yang by the side asked. He could not resist his curiosity after hearing their conversation. Yao Lao had never mentioned that there was an ancestor inside the Pill Tower. This ancestor could be considered one of the founders of the Pill Tower. He is also the most experienced person in the Pill Tower, and his words would influence any decision. If he agreed to this alliance, there would not be a problem, but if he disagrees, there will not be any hope for this alliance. Xian Kongzi hesitated before replying. However, this ancestor loves to roam and have fun in the world. He disappears all the time. Even the three of us have only met him once during these many years. The thing that the ancestor loves to do most is to find pregnant women. Of course, his target is not these pregnant women, but the baby in their wombs. More accurately speaking, he wants to find incidents where the baby has lost its life before leaving the mother's womb due to an accident. After finding a baby who has died early, he will then enter the body of the pregnant woman using a special method and turn into an ordinary baby. He will be born, grow, and live his life as another person until that body finally dies. Only then will he leave, using that old fellow's words to describe it, it is experiencing life. Xiao Yang was completely stunned as he stared at Xian Kongzi's bitterly smiling face. He laughed dryly and said, this ancestor is really a very unique human. Additionally, the ancestor is not a human. Xian Kongzi slowly shook his head. He stared at Xiao Yang and softly said, his actual form is a medicinal pill. Not a human. Xiao Yan felt his skin explode apart at this moment. The corner of his mouth twitched. It was a long while later before he suppressed his voice and softly asked, a legendary DI-tier medicinal pill. All medicinal pills that had experienced a 9-colored pill lightning would possess some intelligence, but the medicinal pills were mostly in the form of a beast. Some of the legendary Tier 9 medicinal pills were able to take on a human form, and it was even possible for them to train. However, Xiao Yang had only read about these pills in some ancient books. A DI-tier medicinal pill was extremely rare even in ancient times. How can anyone refine one now? Xian Kongzi was not surprised to see Xiao Yang's shock. He had also been stunned for a long time before recovering the first time he had heard about the ancestor's actual form. The elder who refined ancestor was one of the founders of the Pill Tower, but that elder has already died. A year before he was about to die, he spent all his effort to refine a medicinal pill. This ancestor had been exhausted when the pill formed and ended up quietly dying. However, a tendril of his spirit entered the Tier 9 medicinal pill in a strange fashion, causing this Tier 9 medicinal pill to undergo a transformation. Subsequently, this medicinal pill turned into a human form that did not leave the Pill Tower. It remained behind as a guardian of the Pill Tower. From a certain point of view, this ancestor could be described as a unique avatar of that elder, but the control of this avatar is rather complicated. Xian Kongzi laughed as he explained. With the flow of time, the ancestor has rescued the Pill Tower from destruction time and time again. In the end, no one could match his status in the Pill Tower, but he was not really interested in this. He would go missing after the Pill Tower stabilized. No one could find him. Xiao Yan wiped his cold sweat off. The origin of this ancestor in the Pill Tower was mysterious. A mutated Tier 9 Xian pill. Xiao Yan was clearly aware of the division of Tier 9 medicinal pills. The 9th tier was separated into 3 grades, Tier 9 treasure pill, Tier 9 Xian pill, and Tier 9 golden pill. The Tier 9 medicinal pills that appeared in this world were mostly treasure pills. One was basically unable to find Xian pills, and the distant Tier 9 golden pills were likely something that only appeared in ancient times. After the Tier 9 golden pill was the legendary DI pill. No one currently living on this continent could refine this medicinal pill. That elder was able to refine a tier 9 Xian pill and cause it to mutate. It is likely that his strength was, at the very least, 5 or 6-star Dosheng. Upon thinking about this, Xiao Yan's heart involuntarily felt shaken by the strength the pill tower had once possessed. Forget it, there is no need to discuss the matter related to the ancestor anymore. He has been missing for many years, and there is no telling when he will appear. Perhaps, he is now in the form of a baby doing the so-called experiencing life. Xian Kongzi waved his hand. His tone was helpless because of this legendary ancestor who had been missing for many years. The last time he had met the ancestor was a 17 to 18-year-old youth. There was no way to tell what he had become now. What about the matter of the alliance? The shock in Xiao Yan's heart was gradually withdrawn as he asked. Since the ancestor is not around, all the major matters of the Pill Tower are decided by the main Elder Council of the small Pill Tower by voting. Xian Kongzi replied. It must go through the main Elder Council, In that case, it will be a little troublesome. Most of the old fellows there are pedantic. It will be difficult to get them to vote in support of the alliance. Yao Lao frowned and said. There are a total of 10 seats in the Grand Elder Council. The 3 of us, being the 3 great heads of the Pill Tower, are also inside. Even though this is the case, we only have 3 votes, Xian Yi helplessly explained. Moreover, the remaining 7 old fellows are much more experienced than us. Our words will not have much of an impact on them. Only 3 votes. That is insufficient. Yao Lao shook his head as he replied. Although this main Elder Council was relatively democratic and its decision was dependent on the number of votes for and against a certain decision, some of the old fellows inside were extremely pedantic. Most of them would be against this alliance. As long as there was a difference of a single vote in this main Elder Council, the result would be fixed. No one could modify the decision. It is not as though there is no hope. 2 of the 7 elders have an extremely great enmity with the Hall of Souls. If we can convince them, we will have 5 votes. Hence, we will have an equal number of votes as those other old fellows. Xian Kongzi mused for a moment and explained. Oh? Can you be certain about this? Yao Lao's eyes brightened upon hearing this. If it was 5 votes against 5 votes, there was a lot of wiggle room for hope. I cannot be certain, but I can at least give it a try. Why don't you and Xiao Yang follow me into the small Pill Tower? Once I report this matter, those old fellows will definitely be a little shocked. Xian Kongzi laughed. All right. It has been many years since I have entered that place. Yao Lao hesitated for a moment before nodding. He looked at Xiao Yang and laughed. Those who have gathered are all alchemist gurus who once possessed an extremely well-known reputation across the Central Plains. You are lucky to be able to enter. It will be an eye-opener. Ha ha, with Xiao Yang's current abilities, he will probably be opening those old fellows' eyes. Xian Yi laughed. Xian Kongzi smiled and stood up. He walked to the end of the large hall before pressing his hand against a smooth jade-like wall. A ripple spread from his palm, and everyone saw the wall began to swiftly wiggle. In the blink of an eye, the wall had turned into a slowly rotating spatial tunnel. A self-created realm, This small Pill Tower really exists inside a created realm. Xiao Yang muttered in his heart after seeing this tunnel appear. Let's go. Xian Kongzi smiled after opening the spatial tunnel. After which, he took the lead and walked into the tunnel. Xiao Yang's group followed. The tunnel slowly scattered after the last person entered. After which, it turned back into a hard wall. After traveling a short distance through the spatial tunnel in less than a minute, the light in front of Xiao Yang suddenly brightened. By the time he opened his eyes, he discovered that he was already standing on a towering green mountain. Clouds lingered in the sky, giving the land an extremely misty appearance. What a dense medicinal ingredient scent! Xiao Yang's nose twitched. His eyes swept around, and he was surprised to discover that this entire mountain was filled with many medicinal gardens. Tons of extremely rare medicinal ingredients in the outside world were growing in clusters in these gardens. This is just like a second pill realm. Some surprise flashed across Xiao Yan's eyes as he looked around. These medicinal gardens belong to various owners. They are the new lives of those old fellows, Xian Kongzi smiled. After which, he lifted his foot and walked to the top of the mountain. Xiao Yan's group quickly followed behind him. It was possible to see some elderly figures amid the surrounding lush medicinal sea. These old men might appear like farmers growing medicinal ingredients, but Xiao Yan could sense an extremely powerful spiritual fluctuation coming from each of them. These old medicinal farmers had obtained a high level of attainment in terms of spiritual strength. They did not pay much attention to Xiao Yan's unfamiliar face. Yao Lao by the side attracted many surprised gazes. Some old fellows stepped forward to greet Yao Lao along the way. Clearly, they had been acquainted with Yao Lao in the past. The group passed by a couple of mountain roads before they stopped at the peak of the mountain. Xian Kongzi's group settled Xiao Yan and Yao Lao in a somewhat simple stone house before hurrying away. They were going to report the matter of the alliance. Xiao Yan and Yao Lao were aware that they could not rush this matter. Hence, the both of them sat in the house and rested. They waited for a couple of hours before Xian Kongzi finally returned with the other two in tow. Two pieces of news, one is good and one is bad. Xian Kongzi bitterly laughed after entering the house. He looked at Xiao Yan and said, "The good news is that we are able to gather 5 votes to support it." Xiao Yan and Yao Lao's attention was braced after hearing the good news. 5 votes might not result in a victory, but it at least represented some hope. The bad news is that in 3 days, the main Elder Council will accept a new elder. This new elder will also possess 1 vote. Unfortunately, the one with the greatest chances of entering the main Elder Council is also an extremely pedantic old fellow. You are acquainted with that old fellow. Xian Kongzi's eyes landed on Yao Lao as his words fell. Yao Lao frowned before asking, "Old demon who?" It is that old fellow who did not see eye to eye with you." Xian Kongzi helplessly continued, "Whether it is from his pedantic views or some other reason, he will definitely vote against the alliance if he becomes the new elder. You had stepped on him during the pill gathering back then. This old fellow has been extremely displeased for many years. If you had not left the small pill tower back then, you would have long since become an elder of the main Elder Council. We would not need to feel such a headache over this matter now." Xian Yi glanced at Yao Lao and spoke in a faint voice. Yao Lao could only bitterly smile when he heard these words. "What should we do now? If that old fellow really votes against the alliance, there is no hope for the alliance." Qian Leizi asked in a deep voice. Xian Kongzi and Yao Lao became quiet after hearing him speak. "It is not totally hopeless. Won't everything be fine if we don't allow that old demon Hu to become a new elder?" Xian Yi suggested. "That is easy to say but difficult to do. Who in the Pill Tower Mountain can compete with old demon Hu? Old Yao might be able to, but he withdrew from the Pill Tower on his own accord back then. According to the rules, he does not possess the qualification to compete." Xian Kongzi shook his head as he spoke. Xian Yi parted a lock of hair from her forehead and smiled a strange smile. Her eyes shifted to Xiao Yan. "Old Yao do not have the qualification to compete, but Xiao Yang does. He is the pill-gathering champion and a potential successor to be the giant head of the Pill Tower. This status does give him the qualification to compete. It will just depend on whether he will be able to defeat old demon Hu. After all, that old fellow was someone who nearly took the pill-gathering champion spot from Yao Chen back then." "Xiao Yan?" Xian Kongzi and the rest were slightly startled after hearing Xian Yi's words. They mused for a moment before nodding. Xian Kongzi said, "Although old demon Hu's seniority far surpasses Xiao Yang might be able to compete with this old fellow with his current abilities." Yao Lao nodded and laughed. "All right. Let Xiao Yang compete with that old fellow. I'll let that old demon know that not only can I, Yao Chen, defeat him, even the disciple I groomed can defeat him." If that is really the case, it is likely that old demon Hu's face would turn green. Qian Leizi loudly laughed. Xiao Yan was speechless when he heard these 4 people decide that he should compete after a couple of sentences, but he was also clearly aware that this matter would determine the success of the alliance. Hence, he did not object to the competition. With his current alchemist skill, he would not feel the slightest fear even when dealing with those extremely old demons. How many colors can a pill lightning from a medicinal pill refined by that old demon possess? Xiao Yan mused for a moment and asked. He naturally needed to be aware of his opponent. It has been many years since I have seen that old demon go all out. The last time I saw him refine a pill with all his strength should have been 2 decades ago. At that time, he had successfully attracted an 8-colored pill lightning. He will probably be able to attract a 9-colored pill lightning now. Xian Kongzi thought for a moment before speaking. 9-colored pill lightning, huh? This person was indeed worthy of being someone who had competed with Yao Lao to be the champion of the pill gathering. Such alchemy skill could be considered top-notch across the Central Plains. That old fellow has progressed very quickly during these years. In order to beat him, Xiao Yang must refine a Tier 9 medicinal pill. Yao Lao frowned. A Tier 9 medicinal pill, even if it was the lowest grade, a Tier 9 treasure pill was somewhat troublesome for Yao Lao to refine. Xiao Yang might be powerful, but when it came to pill refinement, one relied on accumulated experience. That old demon had been totally immersed in pill refinement for many years. His experience was many times that of Xiao Yang. I? Xian Kongzi and the 2 others nodded. Their eyes swung to Xiao Yang as Xian Kongzi asked, "Are you confident?" A Tier 9 medicinal pill, Xiao Yang gently rubbed his finger and softly replied, "I can give it a try." Although Xiao Yang had never refined a Tier 9 medicinal pill, his current strength had soared, and his spiritual strength had improved by leaps and bounds during his 2-year retreat. He had already stepped into the heavenly state from the soul state. He was not any weaker than Yao Lao and the others from the older generation. Xian Kongzi's group sighed in relief after hearing Xiao Yang's words. They immediately said, "Let's do this. We will find a way to allow Xiao Yang to join the competition. It will not be much trouble with his pill-gathering champion qualification." I? Yao Lao and Xiao Yang nodded. "Ha ha, the 2 of you should stay here for these next 3 days. The environment of this place is extremely suitable for alchemists." Xian Kongzi stood up. He laughed before leaving with Xian Yi and Qian Leizi. They still needed to call in some favors to get Xiao Yang to join the elder selection. After all, it would be a little troublesome to suddenly include another person. Xiao Yang and Yao Lao temporarily resided in the Pill Tower Mountain during the subsequent 3 days. Many older generation alchemists arrived during these 3 days. Of course, they had naturally come because of Yao Lao. Most of the old people here were acquainted with Yao Lao. They would naturally want to come and visit after having not met for many years. Yao Lao had allowed Xiao Yang to get acquainted with these older generation alchemists who had once been extremely renowned on the Central Plains. These old fellows had made many friends across the Central Plains in the past. One would naturally gain many benefits just by being acquainted with them. Xiao Yang was also clearly aware of Yao Lao's intentions. Hence, he appeared relatively courteous and respectful when meeting these people from the older generation, satisfying those old fellows. After they learned that Xiao Yang's alchemist skills were comparable to Yao Lao, they clearly appeared much warmer to him. No matter where one was, those who possessed strength would have an easy time gaining the acceptance of others. 3 days passed by in a flash because of this relatively lively atmosphere. When the morning light on the 4th day landed on the Pill Tower, this mountain had shed its quietness and became much livelier. There was usually little noise emitted in this small Pill Tower. Everyone just discussed and challenged each other's alchemist skills, or they would manage their own medicinal garden. Their days were ordinary and extremely suitable for those old fellows who were tired of the conflict in the continent. The top of the Pill Tower mountain formed an open ground. Clouds covered the surroundings of this open ground. The thick layer of clouds was like cotton, causing one to feel the impulse of wanting to walk on them. This open ground, which rarely had any visitors, was filled with quite a number of people. Most of them had white hair and appeared extremely old. Any person in this place would be greatly sought after by many factions in the Central Plains. If a sect possessed an alchemist of this level, the benefits it would receive would be incomparable. While the number of scattered people on the open ground gradually increased, Yao Lao and Xiao Yan were led over by Xian Kongzi and the rest. Many people quickly gathered after Yao Lao appeared. They laughed as they greeted him. From this, one could tell that Yao Lao was quite popular within this small pearl tower. Yao Chen, old thing, indeed still alive. Yao Lao was smiling as he greeted his old friends when a somewhat unfriendly voice was suddenly emitted. Immediately, the crowd parted and formed a path. A small and skinny grey-robed elder slowly walked over. "Ha ha, old demon who? Even you are still alive. How can I leave before you?" Yao Lao smiled as he looked at the grey-robed old man and asked a rhetorical question. "This is old demon who, huh?" Xiao Yan's heart shook after hearing Yao Lao's form of address. His eyes landed on that grey-robed old man. The old man's size was somewhat similar to his surname, who equals monkey. His elderly face appeared a little old-fashioned and seemed like the face of the living dead. "When you left the small pearl tower on your own back then, I thought that you would not have the backbone to return ever again." The grey-robed old man spoke in a faint voice. There was some ridicule in his voice. He had been at odds with Yao Lao and had been trying his best to surpass Yao Lao even now, but this desire had never been fulfilled. It had become a thorn in his flesh. Yao Lao smiled but did not argue. He acted like a nice old person. "I heard that you are planning on taking part in the elder selection. It's just as well. After having not met for many years, it is time for me to see whether or not your alchemist skill has improved." The grey-robed old man frowned and continued after seeing Yao Lao ignore him. Yao Lao involuntarily smiled after hearing his words. He shook his head and said, "I am not the one participating this time around. If you really insist on competing with me, you should defeat my disciple first. He has coincidentally joined the competition." "Your disciple?" That grey-robed old man turned to Xiao Yan by the side after hearing these words. His expression sank after seeing Xiao Yan's age. He coldly laughed. "This little baby boasts the qualification to participate? Yao Chen, even if you wish to use the back door, you should not do it like this, right? This is the small pearl tower, not the central plains." Some of the elders, who were unaware of the situation, also used strange eyes to look at Xiao Yan. Clearly, they did not understand why he possessed the qualification to participate. "Old demon who, Xiao Yan is this pill gathering's champion. Why would he not be qualified?" Xian Kongzi glanced at old demon who as he inquired. "Pill gathering champion?" The expression of old demon who altered after hearing this title. Back then, he had lost the champion spot of the pill gathering competition to Yao Chen by just a little. This matter had been a thorn in his heart. Unexpectedly, the disciple that Yao Chen had taught had also achieved this title. Looks like the quality of the pill gathering was really lacking. Old demon who bitterly remarked. "You are wrong. Xiao Yang refined a 5-colored pill lightning during this pill gathering in order to be victorious. The competition was even more intense than the competition in your time." Xian Yi replied in a faint voice. 5-colored pill lightning? Those surrounding elders revealed surprised faces. At this moment, it might not be difficult for them to refine a medicinal pill of this level, but back when they had participated in the pill gathering, it was already relatively good to be able to refine a medicinal pill that could attract a pill lightning. A 5-colored pill lightning had been relatively distant to them back then. Old demon whose face became even more solemn after hearing this retort. Many soft needles had pricked him until he was quite furious. He felt a little embarrassed as he waved his sleeve and coldly snorted, 5-colored pill lightning? It is nothing here. Since you are not going to participate, allow me to take this elder position. However, since this little fellow is your disciple, this elderly self shall help you teach him. Ha ha, this disciple of mine really doesn't know his limits. Since old demon who intends to teach him, I shall help him. Thank you first. Yao Lao smiled as he replied. Yao Chen, I know what you are here for. Once I obtain that elder position, I will definitely get the both of you to return empty-handed. Old demon who could hear the mockery in Yao Lao's words. With a cold snort, he waved his sleeve, turned around, and furiously left. Yao Lao smiled a studied old demon whose distant back. He softly said, "Looks like we need to shatter the beautiful dream of this old demon to be an elder. What do you say?" Xiao Yan grinned and gently nodded. "There is no need to worry, teacher. This video will end here.